What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. This is Leo's Nerd Talk, and today we're going to be talking about Sting. So let's get into that. Now, Sting follows a family with a little girl who finds a spider in her apartment complex and ends up growing faster and faster and starting to kill and eat people. Now, I was pretty excited for this movie just because I like spider movies to a certain extent, right? I am someone who is pretty afraid of spiders. I am arachnophobic, but I still have joy in watching spider movies and even things that I'm afraid of. I like to research things. I like to watch things about things that I'm afraid of. I don't know. I'm kind of a weird person like that. I'm pretty sure there's a couple people that do the same thing. I feel like the more you're afraid of something, the more you want to learn about it. And there's a few spider movies that are like my favorite movies of all time, even though they're very bad movies. Like for instance, Eight-Legged Freaks. That's one of my favorite movies ever, even though it's a terrible movie. So I was actually pretty excited for this because a new spider horror movie that actually seemed like it was going to take itself pretty seriously from the trailers. I was actually pretty intrigued. But before I give you my thoughts on Sting, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Also, share your thoughts about Sting in the comment section down below. What did you guys think about this movie we've seen so already? Are you excited at all? Are you afraid of spiders? I would definitely love to hear that. And let's go ahead and get on with the rest of the review. Now, starting off with the positives, I enjoyed the design of the spider. It is basically just a Black Widow. They make it seem like they don't know what kind of spider it is, but just by looking at it, it is pretty much a Black Widow. But once it gets to that bigger kind of vicious size, the way they make the face look, it is a lot more menacing than just two fangs. Like it has like a mouth with razor sharp teeth, and just the kind of the way the spider actually looks. I'm not sure how much of it is CGI and how much of it is prosthetics. There is quite a bit of CGI within the movie, but whatever is practical, from what I think is practical, it actually looks pretty good. The way they kind of make the spider look and within the vents and stuff like that. You don't see the spider that often. Most of the times it's very much in like quick flashes, or you just see kind of the legs. But when you do get a chance to see the spider in its full kind of glory, you do end up enjoying kind of what the spider actually looks like, even though it's for the most part a simple Black Widow design. And I also did kind of enjoy the whole kind of vents that they kind of put into play, that the spider is kind of traveling through these vents. It reminded me a lot of like Alien, and even some of the shots definitely reminded me of Alien, while they're kind of like looking into the vent and then the light turns off and the light turns back on. The spider's right there, just it kind of reminded me a lot of Alien, and even the design of the face kind of had a reminiscence of a xenomorph, if you will. But I did like some of those shots and how the spider was maneuvering around, and kind of just those glimpses of the spiders that they gave you here and there. They didn't put it too much in the forefront, which is kind of disappointing. We'll probably get that into a little later. But I do like how they implemented it, mainly towards the later part of the movie. And while we don't really see too many kills happening, the few that we do get are gory and they are pretty brutal, and I really, really enjoyed it. Especially the first kill that you get with one of the kind of tenants of the apartment complex. She had such a brutal kill. It was so gory. It was definitely making me super tense and kind of itchy all over, just because watching the spider crawling around her and going through the walls, and being right on her hand, and then even going into her mouth. That was one of those things where you're definitely tense, especially if you're afraid of spiders. That is going to make you extremely uneasy, and I thought that was such an awesome gory kill. Now, this is kind of more of a mixed aspect. I kind of enjoy it because it kind of makes sense with what they're trying to do. But at the same time, I think it kind of throws off the movie as well, just kind of how they introduce the spider. Obviously, the main little girl here finds it in her grandma's complex within the apartment, and she finds it thinking it's an ordinary spider. We obviously know different from the opening scene pretty much of this movie that it's not no ordinary spider. And well, I don't want to spoil anything on that end. You know within the first 15 minutes what it is, but it's interesting, but I'm not sure if it works completely. It works in the sense where this spider growing and having these abilities and all these different things it can do, and how it communicates. It has vocal cords, where spiders do not have vocal cords. You understand all that stuff because of the way they introduced this spider. which I like it. Like I said, it does put a different flavor on the kind of spider horror aspect, but it also doesn't work fully for me. So that's why I'm a little mixed on the way the spider's introduced and what the spider actually is. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the cons for me. And probably the biggest con, because this is pretty much the forefront of the movie, is the family dynamic, the family storyline. I didn't really find it too intriguing. There really wasn't any of the characters here, the human characters, that I really found interesting. Some of them were a little too goofy, some of them were just too monotone, some of them were just creepy, but not in a good way. It was kind of just like a weird dude. And I just didn't really enjoy any of the characters. Probably the only character I can say that I actually was okay with and was very tolerable, and I think he was actually probably the best one out of all of them, is the stepdad of the young girl, which is kind of the main girl character, because she's the one that takes the spider on as a pet. So her stepdad is probably the only cool character, the only interesting character that I really cared about, the only one that was very tolerable. Because the young girl, I very much did not like how they made her character a very just disrespectful, naive, doesn't listen to any of her parents, doesn't care anything in the world. Anything that is not in her benefit is the end of the world for her. She's always on her phone, like all that stuff. I just did not like the way her character was built. And they try to give you reasons to sympathize with her, but it's hard to sympathize with the young girl with the attitude that she has. You know, like her mom tells her, "Oh, can you go sit up at the table for dinner?" And she's just like, "Oh my god." And it's like, damn, girl, like chill out, man. Your mom just asked you to set up the table. It ain't that big of a deal, you know. And she has that attitude throughout the entire time. So when they try to make you sympathize with the young girl, it doesn't really work. You don't really care about her character, especially with the mom too. Like her mom is very just not there. She's very invested in her life, with of course raising her newborn child, but also her life as a kind of well, I don't even know what she does actually. To think about it, I don't think they ever actually explicitly say it. I think she's also a comic book drawer, just like her new husband, because they're both, I think, work for a comic book company, and she always blames the dad about all these different things, the stepdad about all these different things, where she's doing the same exact thing as the stepdad. You know, she's not really there as a parent. She's not really parenting anybody, and so just their whole family dynamic just didn't really make sense for me. It didn't really fit within the story, or at least it wasn't fleshed out properly and it wasn't explored properly where you actually even care for these characters. And their grandma and aunt live within the same apartment complex. You have a grandma that has dementia, so she doesn't remember anything. And they don't really explore her character at all. She's kind of just there as a, I don't remember anything that's going on. And then you have the aunt, which is like some weird Russian lady that I don't know what her purpose is. Like she is so goofy and campy, and it just doesn't make sense. Like there's so many elements of this movie that wants to be serious, but then you have all these goofy characters and goofy concepts that don't really fit within the story. Is very contradicting. So just all the human characters, to me, they you could have done without. Like this movie probably could have been done so much better as like a 60-minute length film, not an hour and a half. Like the hour and a half felt too long for what this concept was trying to be, especially that they kind of dragged out how long it took for the spider to fully form and start actually killing people. It was a lot of family drama towards the beginning, and the spider was kind of in the background. And it didn't work that way. The pacing was weird. The movie felt a lot longer than it should have been. I feel like this movie could have been, like I said, done a lot better if it was like a 60-minute, nine, maybe even like, I don't know, 70, 80-minute runtime, focusing more on spiders and focusing more on the kills of the spider and taking that horror aspect of it, not really focusing on the humans. But if you were to focus on the humans, make them more interesting, because they were not interesting at all. I did not care for them. They, for for as much as I care, they could have been out of the movie completely, and I think this movie would have been just as effective, honestly. And lastly, I do think we needed more Spider. Like I kind of mentioned, it took him a while to really introduce the Spider and start getting in the row of Spider kills and and the spider capturing humans and bringing them to its kind of little lair and whatever, the case of whatever the spider is doing. We just needed more of it. There wasn't enough of the spider. You didn't see the spider that often. And like I said, when you do see the spider, he is on the roof. It flashes over, makes a little quick sound, and it rushes away. Or the light will turn on, and it's right there. The spider's there, and then it cuts to the next scene. Or you're looking at the jar, and you're like, whoa, there's the spider, and it cuts to the next scene. Like, we needed more of the spider, more of the spider crawling around, actually like seeing it. I feel like would have been a lot better. They definitely tried to hide it and tease it and not really expose the spider that much throughout the entire movie, which when you go for a movie like this about spiders, you want to see the spider, because even though there was a lot of moments where this movie definitely made me feel itchy and I felt like something was crawling under my skin, it didn't really make me scared of the spider itself. It didn't really trigger my fear of spiders in a sense, just kind of that creepy crawly like you always get when you see like a creature crawling around. You're like, ooh, it's kind of gross. But it wasn't like that fear of spiders, especially for someone who is arachnophobic. I wanted more of that fear of spiders, and they didn't really give me that. It was kind of more just like another creature feature kind of movie, like Aliens, or even like Jaws, or like Dracula or something. I don't know. So I just wish we needed more spiders and more of that creep factor within the spider realm. But overall, I think this movie was fine. I don't know if I would ever see myself rewatching it again. Maybe if I wanted to do like a little quick spider marathon. But overall, I think it had a good concept, a good idea, but it fell short in a lot of aspects, especially with the human characters, as well as how much of the spider was actually used. It has some pretty cool gory kills, and if we focused more on that aspect of it, I think this movie would have been a heck of a lot better, because when that stuff was happening, it was awesome, it was creepy, it was scary. Everything else felt bland. Let me know what you guys think about Sting in the comment section down below. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And again, if you guys like talking about movies, TV shows, or video game related, make sure to join the Nerd Talk community. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you.